And Benoît, we can't say enough about how nice a guy he is, and to see him back in the winner's circle. And I just thought, it's no surprise. He rode that thing, like I've said ad nauseum here, the plenty steeps, like he was on a afternoon run with the boys, you know. It's really, really special. And he even said track conditions probably changed. It's probably harder for the guys behind him. Like, he's so humble. He's like, you can't even say if I had the best conditions or the worst. He felt like he had better conditions than some. I don't know. Some sections, yes, some sections not. Like, one will never know.
No, and I don't think he should be thinking that, because it was give and take. The visibility at the top for some of the riders was awful. And you came over a little flat bridge and you went into a couple of doubles. And if you couldn't see what you were doing, that you'd obviously resist. But if there's a lot of rain coming down, it almost keeps a little bit more flow in those conditions. But when the rain stops and the visibility gets better, hey, I can see where I'm going, but the mud's getting a bit stickier, so it's a bit slower. So it is give and take. And I think, Benoît, from what you were saying, when you are going to leave time out on a track when it's muddy, it's not a Formula One dry asphalt, and you're not going to get perfection. And I think the secret is for a rider not to aim for perfection in these conditions, but aim for excellence. You can still be excellent all the way down the track. You might make a mistake, you might mess something up, but you can go, okay, I'm going to be excellent for the rest of it. But if you aim for perfection, as soon as you've made that mistake, you think, oh, well, that's gone. I need the perfect run to win. And I don't think you do need the perfect run to win. It's very, very rare that you will see someone with splits that are 1-1-1-1-1 all the way through, and they've made the perfect theoretical time. And we do see, we do learn that. We learned that in Andorra last weekend, and we're learning it again. But it's the maturity to know where that line is and to go, let's have fun, but this bit is a bit sketchy, so maybe back it down. Maybe don't do the risky line. There are a few risky lines on this track where I was timing a gap jump, and there was 2 different gaps you could do, but also a line where you kept your wheels on the floor. And the wheels on the floor is not very sexy. It looked very normal. But when you timed it and when you split screened it, you're like, you know what? They're not losing anything here. And it really isn't risky. And Benoît was one of those. Benoît and Andy Kolb, interestingly, both were taking the low, less aggressive line. And I think that's something that maybe riders should reflect on. It's not, downhill racing shouldn't be an ego trip. It's not a rampage style event. You're not trying to do the biggest jump or the scariest line. You're trying to get from top to bottom as fast as you possibly can within the tapes. And if there's a line within the tapes that's fast, but maybe not so Instagrammable, then maybe you should still take it.
Yeah, I mean, preach, Alan. It's definitely a tough one. Even if you feel you're giving up 0.1, 0.2, but if you're not confident on a line, or as you said, it's inconsistent, you could crash it 3 out of 10. Like, maybe it's not worth the risk. And that's where someone like Greg, I think, has been incredible. Loïc, over the years, clearly also just so good at their racecraft. That's their racecraft. So, but when you said excellence, someone like Andy Kolb's run seemed, he just went for excellence. Wasn't that showy? Didn't even look that quick, but he landed himself on the podium as well as Loïc. Looked very impressive at the top, like you said. Did they get their bike set up correct? He always excels in that type of track. And he done some hard work up there, and then he kept it together. But Andy Kolb deserves credit for that style of run. That's who sort of I thought about when you said things like that.
Yeah,
you've got Benoît was just unbelievable, deservedly win. Reese was exciting. He was Instagram and going quick. Andy Kolb was like the more consistent, fly under the radar. Loïc Bruni had his title, and then Ronan Dunn was all of those things together. Instagram crashes, going ham, having fun, smile on his face, and he got himself on the podium with the crash. Like, it's quite a cool thing. He could say that he might have won the race. Obviously, you'd want that, but if you can't win the race, getting on the podium after having a small tip over, even if it's a quick one, it's pretty cool.
You'll take that.
It is really cool.
Andy's,
he would take that.
And going back to Andy, it's worth sort of giving people a bit of an insight there, because Riley Scott, who's their sort of lines coach, he was in the manager's area, and he we've got a monitor in the manager's area so we can watch the live feed. And Riley screen recorded that. So he videoed Benoît's run. So he literally filmed the run on the live screen, filmed the whole run, and then sent that straight to Andy at the top. So Andy could watch that on his warm-up and get the most up-to-date idea on the conditions. And we weren't to know during Benoît's run that was going to be the hot run. But Riley did a great job, and the Athertons did a great job there to have that information passed up to him and say, look, this is the most up-to-date information we can get you. You haven't got access to this without us. And then Andy could see what was running well and what wasn't. And he put in one of those sort of slightly more calculated runs, I think. And although the time gaps weren't that close, you know, in the grand scheme of things, he was right there, him and Reece, a couple of seconds back. But you'll take it because there was other riders that just looked as they were fish out of water, and it's awful. Who am I to say they're fish out of water in ridiculous conditions and just getting it down there? But we saw certain riders who probably throttled back and they thought, I'm going to risk more than I'm going to win through this. I'm not comfortable here. I've got the worst of it. I'm just going to get down in one piece. And, you know, if you've got the wrong tires on, or you've got a bad setup and the bike's just doing nothing, if it's all too hard, if they haven't softened everything up enough, then you've got no grip. And I think you're maybe thinking about the bigger picture, or, you know what, my day will come at once and down. Let's just get down and get out of it. So it's like you say, attitude, support from the teams, and try not to. I hope that I can take the brunt of some of the frustration of the things going on instead of the athlete. So I try and, you know, sponge that up, make my point to the organizers or the committees or whoever to say, look, this isn't right. This needs to be better, but not do that in front of the rider. I don't want to bitch and moan in front of a rider. Yeah. Let's put a smile on my face. Let's do everything we can. Let's support you, you know, and then they feel as though they can just go ride their bike. And I think that's the best the team can do for anyone.
Yeah, well said. That's a great way to do it, is just sort of be the buffer between the frustration and say, yep, that's not great. Let me go handle it with a smile on your face. But that's fascinating that Andy watched the whole run. And I think these are the conditions that pays off. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he watched that run and put that style of run together. It makes total sense. You wouldn't do that in the dry. Like in the dry, riders as a whole, mostly, I stand to be corrected, don't want information.
Yeah, agreed.
They know the speed that they can ride and off they go. But in the wet, I would want to know that where Amaury crashed or that where Loris and Danny crashed. It's like that turn is way slicker than I would have imagined. Cool, I've got information and off we go. So you want information because the conditions were so different. So yeah, watching the broadcast with modern technology and having phones at the top, normally you'd think it's like a distraction. But now it's like you've got to do your best to give the information if you think it's going to be important. And that's an important run to send to someone like, look at the lines he's doing. Look at where he's braking, carrying speed. Okay, you can push there. Whoa, he looked sketchy there. Okay, I'll back it off there. And you can make a plan before you drop in.
Yeah, and I think it's easier to have the rider wants the information. The rider very rarely wants an opinion, because an opinion from myself, they'll be like, well, why? Why are you doing this? You know, do you not trust I can do this line or that line? And so they do want the information. And if you're going to input something to a rider, you've got to be damn sure that it's worth doing. And with a track like this, I think the Athertons played it really well. What they would have probably done is sent it to his mechanic, and then his mechanic would have said, Ben would have said to him, look, do you want an update on the track? We've got Coulanges, run. I think it's worth you seeing. And then Andy can make a decision. I want that in my brain or I don't. And he's a sensible guy. He said, yeah, let's see it. And then going back to Léger, we had the situation where the rain was coming down in the women's. Everyone was at the top. And I just knew that if you took a certain line, you were going to crash. So I had to just phone Greg and say, you're going to have to trust me on this one, but you must make that change. And it's stressful from a staff point of view. I know that if you're sending information, it's quite easy. Like, hey man, here's the information, you do what you want. But when you have to put your neck on the line, any one of us down the bottom, any of the other managers are stressing, have they got the right tires on? Have they got the right goggles? Should I tell them to wear roll-offs? Did we pack the roll-offs? What's going on? And we'd all seen the radars, but in the mountains, you know what radar is like. It could say you're going to get 5 mil of rain in 30 minutes, and that's happening 100 meters away, and you don't see any of it. So it's just preparation, really. I think that's probably the key word is, have you prepared well? Have you done everything you can to put yourself in a position where you can then just go and almost throw caution to the wind and just go, well, let's roll the dice. Let's have some fun. Let's be consistent, but, you know, try and enjoy it. Let's try and enjoy it and go from there.